John Harbaugh's first Giants draft did not just change the roster. It may have changed who actually controls the franchise. The draft is over, but nobody is seeing the real story. This is not just about controversial picks. This is not just about a blockbuster trade. And this is definitely not just about Joe Schoen being under pressure. This is about power. Sources are now saying Schoen could be fired this week, just days after the draft. That is not normal timing. That is not quiet internal disagreement. That is a front office earthquake. And when you connect the dots between Harbaugh's wild first draft, the roster overhaul, and the rumors around Schoen's future, one thing becomes clear. The new Giants era is not arriving politely. It is taking over. Let's be honest about where things stand. The holes are clear, and the pressure is real. The Giants are coming out of the draft with more questions than comfort. The roster needed direction. The front office needed alignment. Jackson Dart is the starting quarterback, and that means every decision now has to support his development, protect his timeline, and give this offense a real foundation. Instead, the biggest conversation around Big Blue is not stability. It is a possible power struggle. That is a problem. When your new head coach is trying to install a long-term vision, the last thing you want is uncertainty around the general manager. When the draft includes controversial picks that reportedly left even Giants players scratching their heads, the room cannot afford mixed messaging. The fan base can handle bold. Giants fans can handle aggressive. What they cannot handle is chaos dressed up as strategy. The blockbuster trade only adds more tension. A move that big does not happen in a vacuum. It changes the roster. It changes the locker room. It changes how every decision gets judged. And now, days after Harbaugh's first draft, Schoen could reportedly be gone. That means either ownership is reacting to a deeper issue or Harbaugh's influence is growing faster than anyone expected. Neither option is small. And that brings us to what just happened. Joe Schoen could reportedly be fired this week. That sentence carries real weight because of the timing. This is not a random off-season rumor floating around in the background. This is coming right after the draft. Right after Harbaugh's first real roster-shaping moment. Right after the Giants made bold, controversial decisions that were supposed to define the new direction. Here is the emotional translation. If a general manager might be fired immediately after the draft, then ownership is not just grading the picks. They are grading trust. That is the part nobody is talking about. Because if Schoen and Harbaugh were fully aligned, the story would feel different. The draft would be framed as a shared vision. The controversial picks would be defended as part of the plan. The blockbuster trade would be positioned as bold leadership. But when firing rumors hit this fast, it suggests something behind closed doors may not be clean. This is not cosmetic. This is not normal noise. This is the kind of move that changes everything if it actually happens. And I'll take a side right now. If Harbaugh is truly becoming the central football voice in the building, then Schoen's job security was probably shaky before the draft even started. The draft may not have created the crisis. It may have exposed it. That matters because Harbaugh was not brought in to babysit a half-formed plan. He was brought in to set identity, toughness, physicality, control, direction. And if the Giants believe the franchise needs one clear voice, then Schoen becomes the obvious pressure point. The real question is not whether Schoen is under fire. The real question is whether Harbaugh is already winning the power struggle. And when you look at the draft fallout through that lens, everything starts to click. The Schoen rumor is the headline, but Harbaugh's power is the development. One explains the noise. The other explains the direction. This was John Harbaugh's first draft with the Giants, and the brief says it was wild. That word matters. Wild means the front office did not play it safe. Wild means the building made decisions that were loud enough to shake the room. There were controversial picks. There were players reportedly scratching their heads. There was a blockbuster trade nobody saw coming. Here is what that means for Giants fans. The franchise is not trying to win a press conference. It is trying to force a reset. And resets are uncomfortable. Some fans want clean consensus. They want every pick to make immediate sense. They want every player in the locker room nodding along. But that is not how a power shift works. A power shift creates friction. Harbaugh's vision is not about making everyone comfortable. It is about building the team he wants. If that means controversial calls, then he will live with the noise. If that means a blockbuster trade, he will live with the backlash. If that means the front office has to be restructured around his authority, then that may be where this is heading. And this is where the bigger picture comes into focus. The Giants have spent too long trying to blend plans. A little front office patience, a little coaching reset, a little roster overhaul, a little wait and see. That does not work anymore. With Jackson Dart as the starting quarterback, the franchise needs one vision. one chain of command, one standard. And when a head coach with Harbaugh's presence takes over, the building either lines up behind him or it fractures. That is why the draft controversy is not separate from Schoen's future. It may be the evidence. The proof is the fallout. The draft ended, and instead of a quiet victory lap, the Giants are dealing with a possible front office crisis. That tells you this was more than a normal draft weekend. The brief says the new era of Giants football is officially upon us, and it is anything but quiet. I agree, completely, because quiet would mean business as usual. Quiet would mean everyone knows their role. Quiet would mean the front office, coaching staff, and locker room are moving in one direction without public smoke. That is not what this feels like. This feels like a franchise choosing its power center. And if the choice is Harbaugh, then the rest of the building has to adapt fast. The roster decisions, the trade decisions, the draft board, the quarterback plan around Jackson Dart, all of it has to serve the same identity. Big Blue cannot build a new era with divided authority. That is the proof behind the chaos. The drama is not random. It is the sound of a franchise being reshaped. Hot take. If the Giants fire Joe Schoen this week, it means John Harbaugh has already become the most powerful football figure in the building. And I am not backing down from that. My prediction is this. Schoen survives the week, but he does not survive the season unless the Giants look organized by midyear. That matters because midyear gives ownership real football evidence. Not draft drama, not rumors, not emotional reaction, real Sundays. And the player I am putting at the center of this is Jackson Dart. If Dart looks protected, confident, and supported, then Harbaugh's takeover looks like the reset this franchise needed. If Dart looks trapped inside another messy Giants experiment, then nobody in the front office should feel safe. If I am wrong, I will come back to this video and own it. But I do not think I am wrong. The Giants are not just deciding whether Schoen stays. They are deciding who owns the future. Big Blue is back at the table, but this time, the power struggle may decide the entire meal. That is the story. Not just Schoen, not just Harbaugh, not just the draft. The real story is whether the New York Football Giants finally have one clear direction, or whether the same old organizational friction is trying to survive inside a new era. Giants fans, pick a side. If Harbaugh is taking control, is that exactly what this franchise needed? Or are the G-men walking into another front office mess? No fence-sitting. If you are riding with Big Blue through every twist of this rebuild, you know where that subscribe button is. We break down every move, every rumor, and every decision that shapes this franchise. Go Big Blue.